Hi there, my name is Scott. It's Movember the 1st, 2018, and I'm wanting to share with you some of my thoughts on prostate cancer and its in its later stages. I was diagnosed 10 years ago with early stage 3 prostate cancer. Some of the tumors or the cancer cells had escaped the capsular on my prostate, and while they managed to gather enough power to get rid of it all internally, those little guys hung around for a while and multiplied and multiplied and multiplied. The treatments that I received back in 2008-9 worked pretty well for 6.5 years, and then I started seeing some other changes, and my PSA levels were rising. Not a happy situation, trying to find the right thing to do, and change doctors and change locations and change cancer agencies, and well, out of moving, not because I had any reason to go somewhere else, but really started to ramp up in the last 14 months, probably. I'm 64 years old. I've been called, what I have now is what used to be called stage 4, but is metastatic castration-resistant prostate cancer. Diagnosis is pretty solid. It's this is where I'm at right now. Currently, my PSA level is relatively good shape. It's 2.5, but we're going to talk today about how this treatment that I've had over the last almost 10 years now has affected me, and the single reason or purpose of what this video is trying to do is to scare you into the doctor's office to get an early detection, because early is way easier than going through what I'm going through, and I wouldn't wish this stuff on anybody. But I'm going to tell you all about it so you know. This is the point. I don't think we're not going to say, oh, you don't want to go there. Here's why you don't want to go there. I hope that's going to be enough to get you, and if not you, get your significant other or the rest of your family to throw you at the doctor and get some tests done, because you do not want to get it a little bit late. This is not the time to get squeamish about getting the doctor to put his finger up your ass to see if your prostate's okay. He doesn't like it any more than you do, but he needs to do it so that he can give you a good indication whether you should go into the further diagnosis protocol. The first stuff is, if it turns out good, they can identify where the problems are. That's where you want to be, and they can get it early. That's the best thing I can tell you right now. My back in 2008, when I got this stuff the first time, there was 3 parts. I was on a clinical trial. That's built in 3 parts. The last part was a split leg, and I was on one of the legs. Basically, it was 12 months of androgen repressant therapy, or chemical castration, as it's called, which is a very, very accurate kind of thing, a very accurate description. It lowers the testosterone in your body to 0. And it gets replaced, and the other estrogen takes on, and you take on I wouldn't say call them female qualities, but there's a bunch of things on there that certainly aren't manly, and you kind of get appreciate. It's, you know, you're emotional. You're not as assertive. Your body changes. Your weight changes here. Um, your moods change. You get moody. You get hot flashes. Probably had those if your wife or significant others goes through any of that kind of stuff, any estrogen issues. But at any rate, hormones are important, and boy, oh boy, are they ever missed when you don't have them. The second wave of it was broad beam radiation. I went for 23 sessions of that. Took about 6 or 8 weeks to get through it all. They beamed me with radiation right in the target area. But it's not we're not talking, it's more of a shotgun approach than a sniper. To put it in different terms, it is it hits a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of collateral damage with it, and we'll get into what that gave me over time in a bit. The last part was a more direct radiation treatment called brachytherapy, which included inserting radioactive seeds through a little tube into my prostate, right in the taint, as it were. I can't remember what the other real word is for it, but that little section of real estate between your butt and your balls. That went well. I got over the after about 2 or 3 months, or no, after about 3 months. Yeah, I got over the rundown on my on the castration stuff, and it went, and life was okay. There's some changes. There's some changes, but they were pretty much manageable at that point in time. As I said, things went along reasonably well for 6.5 years. Then they started waking up. My PSA levels had climbed into the normal section area, because after they were finished with me, it was like indetectable, pretty much 0.001% or something like that. But at this point in time, it had raised up to the 2.5 range, 3 range, something like that. And then I kept watching it, because that's not my new job. One of my new jobs is to follow this stuff through and see what's really going on. And then it rose a little higher, and a little higher, and a little higher. We kind of I extrapolated that and said, well, it's going way too fast, and we're going to have to do something. So at the same time, I moved to Prince George and introduced myself to the people up there, and went on some of the androgen treatment, which is the castration stuff. And it brought it down. I also engaged a naturopath about the same time, and tried to improve my overall health if that was a problem, and have some natural products that may have some anti-prostate cancer effects. That worked okay. Kind of held things stable for a while, and I kind of got away on it. And they were experimenting, trying to find the right mix of different products to make it work. Some worked, some didn't. Sometimes some were overkill, probably some weren't. It doesn't really hurt you, but it accepts your pocketbook. So went back, and things got a little worse and a little worse, and off we went to into our current situation, which I've now, and my fourth session of androgen treatment. I started again last January, and I'm really not a fan of that particular product. And when it stopped having as good effect as it had been, it seems kind of odd to me. If something's not working and there's something else that does, why aren't we throwing the first one away and putting the next one on? But apparently that's not what they did. Anyway, we keep on one of them, and they stack it on top of another and see how it works. So the main one of that one isn't really giving the right results that we want to see. I think it's doing okay on working on the cancer, but it's giving me some issues with my liver. So we're working out what that actual what that's actually going to turn out to be when we change the dosage on that. Anyway, we're now going to talk about side effects. There's been a bunch of those around. Some of them are caused from the previous treatment. Some of them are caused by the cancer. Some of them are caused by, over time, some deterioration from some of the other treatments. So first with some urinary tract issues. I was always the kid that went to the bathroom first and had to go more often. I never really gave it a thought. It sounded pretty normal to me. Some guys were and some guys weren't, so it didn't really bother me until later. I was always the first guy up from the beer table to go to the can, and then I went more often than most of the other guys. At any rate, at some point there, after the first wave of radiation, I had some leakage, some urinary leakage. I had some, which I everybody was very happy about. There was pads that we could take, and I tried to avoid as much of that as possible. That meant for many trips to the bathroom. After we were in the 6-year area, started having more and more issues urinating, and night urination was particularly difficult. And at some point it was getting to the point where I was up every 20, 30, 40 minutes and not having any success come out anyway, but although my system's telling my brain that I have to pee. Don't know what's causing all this. It's just driving me crazy. Wasn't fun. Hard to get sleep when you're doing that. Wasn't so bad during the day, but I'll tell you, at night it was a real biatch. I had some urologists look at me. I got some kinds of drugs to relax my bladder and make it a little more pliable, so that it would hold more urine and not tell me to go off to run to the bathroom so often. It worked somewhat, and then it didn't work at all. But the reverse happened. It wasn't that I hadn't been able to go. I had to. It just didn't stop. So what do you do when that happens? Well, there's all sorts of underwear products that you can have. That the most important, or the most famous one is probably Depends. Boy, oh boy, here we are. So got to wear that. Worked for a while. And then at some point along the way there, it didn't work very well. It worked, but I couldn't hold a whole night's worth of urine in there. It was leaking out, and basically, at one point I set up a regimen where every 2 hours we got up and changed it and put a new one on. You can imagine that does your sleep pattern. And now to solve that, I'm riding on a catheter in now, and that, while it's ugly, is the best solution I have for that problem. I kind of have that one compartmentalized up over here because isn't getting any worse. The urologist who looked at it late in the last year looked at the condition my bladder was in, and they described it as really mashed up, and what was the word? Macerated is what the first doctor said. Was my bladder was macerated, and that was from the radiation treatment from 6 or 7 years previous. And it was a lot of necrotic tissue, which is dead tissue, which won't be revived and isn't being regenerated by my body. So I've got some serious damage done in there to that from the treatments. Not really happy about that, but I signed up for the trial. One of the other ones which comes out of this thing is whatever erections you were having before, will likely, even after you're over the castration period, will likely to lead you to having less studly erections. There'll be some. So we've switched over to Cialis to help on that. That does help. That was pretty good stuff. And then we get to so that was from the damage done previously, as far as I can tell, from the treatment. The next little bit of fun was it was caused by a tumor that was in my groin. We saw it on one of the screw cans that were done, and it ended up blocking one of my lymph nodes. Lymph nodes are sort of a central part of the lymphatic system, and that where the dead tissues and all that other kind of stuff comes out and it exits out your body through various other ways. But it's a very slow moving process, and it works quite well when it works. But when it's blocked off, there's a blockage. So the stuff just keeps building up and building up. Came back from a Mexican holiday a year and a bit ago. Looked down, and one foot's bigger than the other. And I said, "What are we doing with that? How'd that happen?" And so I went to the doctor. It wasn't my doctor. He was away on holidays or sick or something. I don't remember. And got another guy, and he looked it up and down and said, "Oh, you don't have it's swollen, but you haven't got a clot. So just be careful. Give us a call when you go straight to the hospital if it gets sore." Didn't hurt, so that's fine. Had another couple of trips to the doctor for the ER system for a few things or other, whatever, to the ER. And when you go in with two things, they can only usually fix one. But basically got the same story when my calf exploded out and was huge. And then about a couple of weeks later, it got up to my thigh and made it almost probably half again as big as the one on my right leg. And so now I have to. Now, the upside is we've managed to lower things enough that blockage has been relieved of itself. Tumor went away, or whatever we put into their system, it was one of the ones that got flushed out of the way, and it's now working. Although it moves so slowly, it takes a long time to get it out. So I wear a compression stocking on one leg, my left leg. It is having some effect. I've also engaged a massage therapist to assist with its movement, and unfortunately, it's not covered under BCL. It's not covered under the cancer agency. In fact, I couldn't even get them to tell me where to go. I found my own RMT, but I'm limited on my insurance plan on how much massage therapy I can get. So I've already run out of that, and so it's getting to be a pretty expensive proposition just to do that. Doesn't hurt, but it looks like hell. And when I've got the stocking on and a pair of jeans or something like that, it's almost impossible to walk very much in it. I mean, for any length period of time. So you're working against the stocking. not a lot of fun there either. Anyway, that's those things on that part of the program. And those are those things. So what else happens in your system when this gets there? Well, in my particular case, and I suspect that's quite common in prostate cancer, is that the cells tend to glom onto your bone structures, and the closest ones are in your pelvis, your legs, hips, all that part of the area. It can happen elsewhere, but that's where it starts. I've had, apart from that first tumor that we had, I've had another one zapped that was, how long did you say it was? 2 inches one way and 3 inches the other way in my pelvis. So we had another jolt of radiation to ring that down. We haven't figured out whether it's how much they managed to remove or not, and we don't know yet. Hasn't been a scan done, but there has been some relief on it, but it affected some of the muscles, some of the nerves in that area. So I had a whole bunch of numbness down there, right up from my butt and all the way across that and down and behind and under my scrotum, and again, not very pleasant, pretty uncomfortable. The thing that bugs me the most about this is the side effects from the treatment. That's my biggest disappointment, I suspect you would call it. The Zoladex, or Degarelix, as it's often called, product does a really good job of getting estrogen down your testosterone down to a 0, essentially. So what's that do to you? Well, your estrogen is the queen at this point in time. You get hot flashes. I get really hot flashes. First time around, I thought I could manage it pretty well. This time, not so much. They come and go. I get hot flashes. I get cold chills. I have night sweats like you wouldn't believe. Wake up with a soaking wet bed. It's not urine. It's sweat, and it sticks and it's cold. If you've been in too long and it's cool out, or you moved away from the spot and it cools down, it's cold. It's annoying. Does it kill you? No, but it's not very happy. Another one is the emotional stuff. This is where you get sobby. I'll talk to some friends and try and tell them the story, or tell them, see how they're doing, or think about my grandkids or my kids, and what's my wife going to do, those kinds of things. And it's, I'll break into tears at a drop of a hat, just talking about, what I'm going through. Yeah, guys, it's okay to have a nice cry, but it still doesn't make you feel any better. I've had to quit work because, at least for the temporary time while I'm under this stuff, because it seriously affects my cognitive function. You'll notice I'm stuttering quite a bit, trying to remember words. That kind of stuff, it just dumbs me down, and the work I do doesn't make it very easy to do anything. I really, it's the worst. It's the worst part of it for me, is I can't work and I can't help support my family. So it also it affects my focus too. So I'm working pretty hard at this here now, just staying focused and not looking out the window or changing the subject or whatever else. Focus is difficult. If you give me too many things to do in a time, something's going to get missed, and I just can't have that in my business. So that one's a big one for me. I, you hear about man boobs, you get them. Sometimes you get them bigger than others, but you get them. Haven't started lactating yet. I hope that doesn't happen. They tell me it won't. But your weight loss or gain, pardon me, you gain weight because it's guys versus girls, different metabolisms and stuff like that, and the weight comes on a little quite a bit easier, and it comes in different spots than you usually think it does. Drive to get stuff done. That one's a hard one too. Affects my business a lot. Do I want to get? Oh, I'll do that later. I don't feel like it. I don't want to do that. I'm too tired. I'm too this. I can't fight my through that stuff. That's really hard. Some of it can be overtime, but it's not easy. What else have I got going on there? There's one other one, and here we are. Can't remember the words. Assertiveness. That's what it was looking for. Kind of wishy-washy. Now, I don't think I was before. Some people might have thought I was too pushy, but to assert yourself and be confident and those kinds of things, I've been drawn out of my system, and it just doesn't really work for me. I can't think of any other ones off the hand, but if you go to any one of the lists of side effects from Zoladex, I got all but a couple, and they may be lurking in the background too. I'm not sure. Actually, but one thing though, my hair was white before all this started, so it didn't change any hair, and your hair doesn't fall out with it. That's not part of this process. So what do I have to look forward to? I guess that's the next sort of part of this, and the last part of this process. This little bit of a rant I got going here today. The standard of care is what I've got right now. They're going to play whack-a-mole a bit more with some different drugs or some different dosages of drugs to see if they can control and control the growth of the tumors, but the stuff ain't going away. There is no in the standard care available in BC. There's no cure for this stuff. There's a whole bunch of cures on the internet. Who knows if any of them work or not? There's clinics all around the world that will, except in Canada and parts of the United States, that will put you up in a nice room and treat you sweet and everything else and fill you with this and that and the next stuff, and who knows if it works or not, and it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. Not my budget anyway. What else goes on? There's so going forward with how long does this work, or what's that work? Well, this stuff will keep me going for a while, but we don't know how long. Nobody can tell me. Some say up to 3 years, some take 5. If I was to go off this hideous drugs that I have on now, the Zoladex and stuff, the antidepressant, the suppressant stuff, they say 3 to 6 months. And they don't say that. Nobody ever says it's a really nice death. I don't think, I'm not sure. I'm really torn right now. I hate the way things are. I wish it was all gone. Do I hang on to this stuff to live a little bit longer and be miserable? I don't know. So it's a big choice. You can always go back on stuff. Going back on and off, they say, isn't the best thing. Yeah, okay, whatever. There's still stuff I want to do. People to see. Grandkids to hug. See them grow up. A little more than they are now, or a lot more than they are now. And it's pretty shitty all the way around. So I guess I don't want to talk anymore about this stuff other than to give you the message that get in early, guys. Whatever you may be fearing about the doctor's office, or aren't getting enough information from the doctor's office, fix it, change it, do something. Because this isn't any way to live. They can get this thing out of your system early, but beyond that, it's a mess. And it's not much fun. It certainly isn't very rewarding. I think I've bored you enough with this stuff, so I'm going to just turn this off and do what I have to do to get it out to the world. Thank you.